Hello and welcome to the Ministry of the Real Truth. We are all about doing personal research on the three major organized religions: Judaism, Christianity and Islam. Our specialty, our main focus is Christianity, but we will cover the other two and the rest of the religions in due time. And we came across a biblical verse, Revelations 12:9, where it states, the whole world is deceived. So we asked the question, how and by whom? Okay, well, we worked out supposedly Satan, the devil, the old serpent, the dragon, okay, is the one who's deceiving the whole world. And we had a deep think about it, okay, because here's a question here, is there really a devil? So thinking, yeah, okay, Judaism say there is no devil, that Christianity is wrong in saying that there's no devil, there's no fallen angel, etc., etc. Whereas Christianity is adamant and says, no, there is a devil, it's clearly in the scriptures. Okay, so we're looking at it and started to think there's obviously some force behind the scenes that enters your mind. You know good from bad, right from wrong, good from evil, etc. So, you know, it's coming from the ethereal, from somewhere, right? From the universe, say it's entering your prefrontal lobe or your mindscape, entering through there. Because Genesis stated to God said to Cain that sin crouches at your door, wishes to enter and conquer you or be victorious over you, to master you, so you must master it. Okay. Apparently, looking at the brief illustrated guide to Islam, we've got this concept that mind skate, or that is your prefrontal lobe, your nasiyah, and bad thoughts come through there, okay, enter through there. So we use it in example, like you're in your local supermarket and you go down the chocolate candy aisle and you start craving, oh geez, maybe I should buy a whole lot of these, you know, feed that craving. So this little voice in your head, your conscious, whatever you want to call it, says, come on, go buy, you know, buy all this junk. You know you want it, you really want it, you know, it'll make you feel good, all these promises of a reward, right? So you try to resist, because you know, sugar's bad for you, too much sugar, at least obesity, diabetes, whatever, right? Should stay away from it, but it keeps prodding you until you can no longer resist, and you load up your shopping trolley with $100 worth of chocolates, chips, drinks, fizzy drinks, lollies, whatever, all the rubbish, right? And you go home and you eat it, you gobble it all up, because you're a pigster or whatever, and afterwards you go, oh, I feel so ill, I shouldn't have ate all that, I feel so sick, oh, and you have all these regrets. Well, you made that choice, that decision, you were prompted, you bought it all, you ate it all, so you suffer the consequences, right? Who can you blame? Oh, you just scapegoat, I blame the devil, you know, all that sort of stuff, if you're religiously inclined. So yeah, there's the fact there's something out there in the universe beyond your mind, right? Enters your mind and does all that trickery, right? Okay. Or another example, there's something in somebody's house that you spy. You think, oh geez, I wish I had that. Wow, I'd look cool, you know, say a pair of Delays glasses or whatever, right? And a little voice prompts you, your subconscious, your conscious, whatever, right? Steal it. No one will know, no one's around, no one will notice, they won't know it's missing, right? And you'll look cool. Look, that's it, you look cool. So you're resistant, no, you know, because you know right from wrong, good from bad, whatever, right? But it keeps prompting at you. So you eventually buckle, think, yeah, I look cool. They won't notice, yeah. You go with it, you steal it. And then you're walking around the streets or whatever, and you bump into that friend you stole it from. And they go, hey, those are my glasses. No, they're not. Oh, I just bought these last week. No, those are mine. I can identify the scratch marks on it, whatever. And my name's written all over it, whatever. So it's mine. You stole it. Oh, no. Then there's this big, fight over it. Accusations, like, you're a thief, blah, blah, blah. Why'd you do it? And then there's proof there that it's actually their glasses, okay? You got no receipt. You got nothing, right? Maybe you admit, sorry, bro, I stole it. You suffer the consequences. Maybe you get a beat down or verbal assault, whatever, right? Okay, so it's a fact that there's something behind the scenes, it comes, say, from the universe or whatever, into your head, your conscience, whatever, and tells you, do this, do that, right? It's just as factual as death. One day everyone's going to die, and if you're supposed to pay taxes, if you're a taxi avoider, dodger, whatever, eventually it'll catch up to you, and they'll prosecute you, the IRS or IRD, whoever. Will prosecute you in a court of law for that, right? So you're paying the consequences of that decision, that choice, that decision, that action, right? Okay, so again, we're thinking, okay, so it's the devil, and he's deceived the whole world. How has he deceived the whole world? Okay, and there's a little question here. If you were the devil and wanted to deceive the entire world, how would you approach such a challenge? Okay, and with 2 world wars, 2 successive generations saw their fathers, husbands and sons lost on the bloody battlefields, right? Or under that, because of the political powers, squabbling, right? These people were recruited to fight that war for them, to keep tyranny at bay, all that sort of stuff. Okay, and it was one great sacrifice. Lots and lots of lives were lost. Okay. And that was supposed to be the war to end all wars, but then they had World War II, and that was supposed to be the war that would end all wars, but then they had the Korean conflict, and then the Vietnam one, and it just went on and on like that, right? And here it says, one brilliant strategy would be to convince people that you're not really there. Okay, let's go back here. If you were the devil and wanted to deceive the entire world, how would you approach such a challenge? One brilliant strategy would be to convince people that you're not really there, that you don't even exist, and the best way to do that would be to get them to believe that the only source of information that reveals who you are, along with your motives and methods, is little more than a collection of fables or fairy tales that have nothing to do with their lives. Okay, so that's the devil's ploy. I don't exist, and you got Judaism that say no, the devil doesn't exist. Christianity's lying. Don't know what they're talking about, but Christianity is saying no, it does. It's all in the New Testament, etc., etc. We have seen exactly that, starting several centuries ago and prompted by the theories of men such as Charles Darwin, who came up with a way to explain creation without the creator. Many people began directly challenging the authority and inspiration of the Bible. They began to ridicule as mere myth and superstition the existence of a spirit world, long accepted without question by those who believe the Bible. A lot of questions or answers like, why do we need an intelligent designer? Is there really an intelligent design? But we don't really need an intelligent designer. What's proof of that? We don't need God. Science proves everything. Science is the one. All that sort of stuff. In the world's leading university skeptics challenge, is this all coming from? These universities, these professors, etc., etc. Skeptics challenge the validity and accuracy of the Bible and materialist reasoning under the guise, the disguise, or the pretense of science. Okay, that science is fact. Okay, when it's actually they come to these discoveries, assumptions, and they go all out to prove that those assumptions or what they've found is fact. Okay, they go all out to prove that it's fact. And then if it's wrong, proves to be wrong, they change it. Okay. So go look up the actual definition of science so you don't have any misunderstandings and you fully understand what that is. Because there's science, and then there's science scientific theory. Okay, so there's a few definitions of what it is, right? What it means. Okay. Some people say it's basically the same. It's the same. Okay. Okay. In the world's leading university, skeptics challenge the validity and accuracy of the Bible, and materialist reasoning under the guise of science, rejecting anything that cannot be detected by the physical senses. They can't see it, they can't feel it, okay, they can't hear it, they can't touch it, so it can't be true. Because the order of the day, or it becomes the order of the day. Became the order of the day. Generation of leaders were taught to discard anything that could not be measured by scientific methods. So generations of leaders, people above them in the professions probably, qualifications, were taught to discard anything that could not be measured by scientific methods. Then came 2 world wars. 2 successive generations saw their fathers, husbands and sons lost on bloody battlefields in far-flung corners of the world, with neither war resulting in a lasting peace. Civilian casualties too were appalling, with tens of millions of lives snuffed out. Numbered by such brutal mass destruction of lives and property, many lost their belief in God, thinking that an all-powerful supreme being would never allow such carnage and suffering. Thus, in only a few generations, belief in an almighty, all-loving God and trust in the Bible as his revelation to mankind were shattered. In our modern world, although many people still claim to believe in God, few take their stated belief seriously enough to let it guide their lives. The Bible is consistently one of the world's best-selling books, yet it is one of the least read and least understood. Most people think the Bible and the spirit world have nothing to do with them and their lives. Although religion should provide an understanding of God and the spirit world, it is too often only yet another source of confusion and disagreement. For example, Christianity is the professed religion of approximately a third of the world's population and is the largest single religion. I thought Islam was more dominant, they had more people in it, people converting to it. But it is splintered into thousands of sects and denominations, or cults and little movements, many of them claiming to represent the true teachings of the Bible and Jesus Christ. Never in human history, of course, have professing Christians comprised a majority of the world's population. Most people during the last 2 millennia have followed a bewildering array of deities, gurus, and religious teachers. Some have believed in God, others in various good and evil spirits, or no God and spirit world at all. Obviously, these incompatible and often opposite beliefs cannot all be right. God is not the author of confusion. See 1 Corinthians 1:4-33. The effect of so much religious confusion and division is exactly what one would expect from a being whose aim is to deceive the whole world, Satan. Revelations 12:9, the old serpent, dragon, Satan, the devil. Many people do not believe in the devil at all because they've been convinced by these organized religions there is no devil, and many of those who do aren't sure what they should believe, since so many religious teachings are confused and contradictory. Most people are deeply sincere in their beliefs, but since the beliefs of so many professing Christians contradict the beliefs of other professing Christians, they cannot all be right. Many of them are sincere but sincerely wrong. They along with the rest of the world have been deceived, okay, from within their own churches by their church leaders. So what are the implications to professing Christians of Satan's deception and its resulting confusion? Christ challenged people in his day, in his era, who were sincere yet deluded. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, or Master, Master, and do not do the things which I say? Luke 6:46. He cautioned his followers, he warned them, to be aware of religious deception. Take heed that no one deceives you or fools you, pulls the wool over your eyes. He warned, Matthew 24:4, he prophesied that religious leaders would arise. There'd come a day when they'd arise, or from there onward, who would claim to represent him, but in fact they would be impostors who would deceive many. Matthew 24:5, and that's talking about the many denominations, organized religions, denominations, branch offs that hoodwinking the people. Right. Okay. Rather than a source of information and understanding about the great malevolent spirit that is the enemy of mankind, religion has actually been one of the major tools the devil has used to deceive people. Here you go. So we at the Ministry of the Real Truth, our whole mission is to wake people up out there who are claiming to be truth seekers, those who really want the truth. They want to know the truth according to the scriptures. Okay, the ancient manuscripts in the ancient old tongue, scribal language, sacred language of the scribes and prophets of the Old Testament, and Yeshua Mashiach, Isha Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, and his disciples, the Aramaic Galilean, right? Translated into English. If they want to know the truth, well, subscribe with us. Okay, subscribe to our channel. Add your likes. Right, give us a thumbs up, and then don't forget to set that bell so you'll be notified of any videos that we create to present you that real truth, that whole truth, and nothing but that truth. And we're not going to pull the fluff over your eyes, because our policy is honesty is our best policy, and a man's word should be his word, right? You should honour it and stand on it, be unshakable. Okay, so we're not going to pull the wool over your eyes, give you a candy coated lollipop and say, oh, it's like this when it's not. Okay, we're at this point where we believe the game's over, the gig's up. All you tricky, deceitful, organised religions, you need denominations, it's time to fess up, come clean, before there's a preceding wrath that's going to come upon you. Before that happens, right? Before the end, etc., etc. Yeah, this is your chance to turn it all around, repent, etc. And come out and be honest. No more of the fluff, no more of the lies. Okay, so hopefully you like that. We'll move on to who was the United Church of God. Okay, like not a journalist or anything like that, but a good journo or journalist would dig by doing the research on these different peoples, these organisations. Okay, and here's a basic history of W. Armstrong. Okay, and it's got all the information here. His teachings required observance of parts of the Mosaic Law, including Seventh-day dietary prohibitions and the Covenant Law, holy days. He also proclaimed that behind contemporary world events loom various biblical prophecies interpreted in light of British Israelism. What is that? Is a pseudo-archaeological, I mean that's a half-truth. It's, it appears true, but it might not necessarily be true. Belief that the people of the British Isles are genetically, racially and linguistically direct descendants of the 10 lost tribes of ancient Israel, with roots in the 16th century and so forth. Okay, go have a look at Simcha Jobovich's video, his quest for the lost tribes of Israel, the 10 lost tribes of Israel. You'll find that they're actually the ones that he discovered all over, with the assistance of a Israeli Jew tagging along, that they were actually Ethiopians who were welcomed back into Israel and recognised as true Jews, one of the lost tribes. Was the other one? Asians, who were militants, very dangerous. Indians, from Bombay, Calcutta, like that, right? Okay, and of course those pale Jews in Israel too, which supposedly 96% of them are fake. They're considered fake or rendered fake. Actually of Khazarian descent, and there's like about 4% who are actually Jews. They can prove. So a lot of them say that they're actually from the house of Israel, descendants from the house of Israel. Anyway, so here's into that British Israelism. Okay, I've seen it. We used to have a shop not far from us that sold all those sort of books. I think Christian Identity may be attached to that sort of thing. There's the Supreme, everything else is mongrels. Everyone else is mixed race and all that sort of stuff. What they call Mamses. Okay, and here's his early life. Okay, he marries a distant cousin. He marries on his 25th birthday. He went back to Chicago. Then war comes along. She has a vision. Okay. He wasn't really religious at that time, but later on he came to believe that vision was really a message from God. They have a child. Okay. Beginnings of his ministry. Okay, there's a lot of information there. Okay, what does it say here? During his stay in Oregon, his wife Loma became acquainted with a member of the Church of God, Seventh Day, Emma Runcorn. Emma and her husband OJ were lay leaders in the Oregon Conference of the Church of God. Seventh Day keeping Adventist group that rejected the authority of Ellen White. Okay. And in teachings, Loma became persuaded the Bible taught Sabbath observance on Saturday, the seventh day, one of the beliefs of that church. Her assertion of this to her husband was met with dismay and appeared to him to be religious fanaticism. She challenged him to find biblical support for Sunday observance. As his business was struggling against larger competitors, Armstrong had the time to take up this challenge. He began what would become a lifelong habit of intensive, lengthy Bible study sessions. He soon felt God was inspiring this, opening his mind to truths that historical Christian churches had not found or accepted. Shortly after, as related in his autobiography, Armstrong would take up a similar study on the topic of evolution of the species after a conflict with his sister-in-law. His studies on Sabbath and evolution convinced him that his wife was right and that the theory of evolution was false. Okay, so I've done a video on the two Sabbaths, and it's been proven that she was actually wrong. Certain people have admitted that they changed the Sabbath to a Saturday. Okay, it wasn't originally. You look at Exodus and you work it all out. So a certain site, you'll find that someone's lied to you. Okay, saying it's written in the Bible, whatever they're claiming, when it actually isn't. Okay, despite his own teaching on baptism, his own account, this is Armstrong, is noteworthy for the absence of any mention of the process of laying on of hands or a special prayer in the dispensation of the Holy Spirit, which were considered fundamental for membership in the worldwide Church of God and reason for many a new convert's rebaptism. Okay, while a member of the Church of God, Seventh Day, Armstrong became acquainted with ministers John Keys and Israel Hager, who began to suspect that Herbert was a little too arrogant and tended to go against church doctrine. They cited Armstrong's refusal to submit to the Church of God ministers to be baptized, but went out to a local Baptist minister instead as a point. After his ordination, Armstrong allied himself with two other rogue ministers by the names of Andrew Duggar and C.O. Dodd, both of which had composed a book called A History of the True Religion from 33 AD to date, in which they claimed that the New Testament Church of the Church of the First Century, that would be the Church of the East, had secretly descended through history and eventually became the Sabbath Day. That's not even them, somebody completely different. The Sabbath keeping Church of God, Seventh Day. Duggar also predicted that the apocalypse would occur in 1936. When did World War II start? Okay. Eventually this led to Duggar and Dodd's ouster, and when they promised to make Armstrong an apostle in the new church, the Church of God, Seventh Day, he joined them. After severing ties with the Church of God, Seventh Day, as a result of doctrinal disputes, he began to teach a form of British Israelism, which would later make up his book, United States of Britain and Prophecy. I've got that outside. I think it's just missing its cover. What is that? British Israelism is a pseudo-archaeological belief. Okay, it's half-truths. Okay, that appears true, but it may not be. Belief that the people of the British Isles are genetically, racially, and linguistically of the direct descendants of the 10 lost tribes of ancient Israel, with roots in the 16th century, etc. Okay, he's on radio. Yeah, okay. International expansion and his ideas. Okay, Worldwide Church of God. Okay, it goes on about his son, Garnet Armstrong. The son of Herbert W. Armstrong was the voice and face of the program. It was the Radio Church of God. It was speculated that with his charisma and personality he was the logical successor to Armstrong if he ever passed. But doctrinal disagreements and widespread reports of extramarital sex led to his suspension in 1972. After initially changing his behaviour, he returned, but these issues resurfaced, coupled with his challenging his father's authority as pastor general, resulting in him being permanently disfellowshipped. The church's term for excommunication, which is ousting, right, from all activity within that church. Okay, sometimes they let him speak on a microphone or do a video or whatever, get up and preach. It depends on that church and their ideals. Okay, final years before his passing. In 1977, Armstrong, then in his 80s, wow, who needed Viagra in those days, married Ramona Martin, then 38. So she's like 60 years younger than him. Is that right? About 50 years younger. Whew. A long-time member and church secretary who had a 15-year-old son. Okay, age doesn't matter. Yeah, not really a problem, is it? We had a 15-year-old son from a previous marriage. The controversial marriage would last for only a few years. The Armstrongs separated in 1982, with Herbert Armstrong returning to live in Pasadena full-time, and the marriage finally ended in divorce, 1984. During pre-trial proceedings in the divorce case, Armstrong's lawyers had sought to limit evidence of prior incestuous conduct with his daughter for many years, but his wife's attorney said it was crucial since the church leader alleged Mrs. Armstrong had breached an agreement of love and fidelity. So they had some sort of contract that she wouldn't reveal his secrets, okay, because of love and fidelity. Okay, and he's put here, it's got here, in his later years, Armstrong stated that he did not know whether or not Christ would return in his lifetime, but did know, based on the sequence of events in the Bible, that the Lord's return was approaching. He had long written of his belief that the primary sign to look for would be some sort of dissolving of the Eastern Bloc alliance under Soviet control, followed by those nations' subsequent incorporation into an eastern leg of the United States of Europe. Wow. In August 1985, Armstrong's final work, Mystery of the Ages, was published. He wrote that time may prove this to be the most important book written in almost 1900 years, and called it a synopsis of the Bible in the most plain and understandable language. What's that, English? It was more or less a compendium of theological concepts as articulated by Armstrong, which included the notion that God deliberately coded the Bible so that it would not be understood until our modern time. So then that means everyone else that had copies of it would never ever have understood it, so they couldn't preach it, so they're all fake, because it's all coded. You can't preach it and fully understand it and preach it, because you haven't cracked that code. Unless you crack that code, then you're able to do it. This how failed. Almost until his final days, there was uncertainty about who would succeed Armstrong in the event of his death. Then they chose somebody. Okay. In the years after his death in 1986, WCG leaders came to the conclusion that many of Armstrong's theological arguments were not biblical, causing the church to reject his teachings as aberrant and to completely rewrite its doctrines. Today, the vastly changed organisation is in full agreement with the statement of faith on the National Association of Evangelicals. In April 2009, in light of the major doctrinal shifts made, the church also changed its name to Grace Communion International, GCI, to better reflect its new teachings. Theology and teachings. Bullet points is listed here. Armstrong did not accept Trinitarianism, believing it to be a doctrine of satanic authorship as part of a counterfeit of Christianity, which he identified as the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, here's some ideas here. Criticism and controversy. Armstrong's teachings and the church he created have been the subject of much criticism and controversy. Armstrong's theology and teaching are defended by his followers, but face criticisms from ex-followers and the greater Christian community. Common points of criticism and controversy include theological, prophetic predictions, British Israelism, personality, personal conduct and governance. Armstrong was often criticised for having lived in extravagant wealth in comparison to a few church members. Personal luxuries enjoyed by Armstrong included a personal jet, the finest clothing, furniture and other conveniences. Doesn't that sound familiar? The prosperity teachings, maybe that's the root. Okay. Teachings and food from the Bible. It's all here. The use of medicine and doctors was discouraged because members were expected to place their faith in God for healing. Armstrong stated, "Here's God's instructions to you today. If you are ill, if you are to live by every word of God, we should obey the scripture," and so forth. Yet he used medical doctors, etc. in his last days. Okay. His honours, his bibliography, citations. Right. So yeah, we at the Ministry of the Real Truth are basically trying to encourage you to, when you read up on these people, these denominations, these churches, etc. Look at their founder. Don't do the dirty journalism trick. Dig deep, find the dirt on them, so you know what they're all about, right? Say they're going to be suckered. Okay. You know the truth behind it, behind that church and what he said, etc., etc. And why did they change the name? Perhaps to cover up, his claims that were dodgy, cover up that shame. Okay, legally, they got new doctrines that they upgraded, improved it, But you be the judge of that. You decide. Right, but that's the whole idea of it. So you know the truth, right? You know the real truth of these leaders, right? Because everybody's been fooled. The whole world's been deceived by these charismatic prosperity churches and etc. etc. So we're here to expose them all, each and every one of them, because we know from personal research that they've given everybody in the world there a boatload of doo-doo. Okay, a facade saying it's all the truth, when it's actually not. Okay, often it's not. So if you like this, then subscribe to our channel, give us a like, add your comments, and we will surely answer them in due time, because we like your comments, your critiques. Okay, helps us to grow. Okay, we'll get back to you as soon as we can, as soon as possible. Don't forget to set that bell so you'll be notified of any of these thought-provoking videos, truth revealing videos, because that will, if you're a truth seeker, that's what we want for you. Okay. Yeah, and then go tell all your Christian friends, Jews, Islams, Muslims, neighbours, strangers. Hey, if you want to know the real truth, and come have a look at this YouTube channel, because they're blowing the lid on everyone, okay, and they're revealing the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. No fluff, no hype, no BS, just the truth. If that's what you're seeking, then this is the best place to come and get it. Okay, so we will see you on the next exciting revealing video. God bless.